It's me. It's me. It's the RVE. What's up, everyone? Back here.
Thumbs up. Thumbs down. Big Papa Pump needs your hookup. Holler if you hear me.
What up? Hold on.
A little bit of the bubbly. Let me in.
I mean, that was probably...
Say dummy. Dummy. Yeah.
Yeah, we're back. It's fine. Hurls is for the big 9-week show. I actually disappeared most of the week. I feel like he's still suffering from COVID. For those of you that don't know, Hurls actually did contract it, or it contracted him. I think it hurt the disease more than it hurt Hurls, but you know, that's our Hurls for us. So we wish him the best. He's definitely on the mend, but man, we thought maybe we might have him this week.
You know, it's crazy. All these medical experts tell us how you can contract COVID or coronavirus or whatever you want to call it. Never do they ever tell us you can contract it from actually fapping to the most heinous and disgusting porn sites on the deep dark web. But Hurls is living proof that that's how you catch it.
Yeah, but Larkin hasn't had it yet, and we've seen what he faps to.
You know, I think Larkin, he's just, you know, on the big girl porn sites and all, but I don't think he's going to the deep heinous shit that Hurls looks up. You know what I mean?
I mean, Hurls is into it. I feel like Hurls is the godfather of the dark web. I can see that. Him at OSH. I could see old school heel being right there with him.
I couldn't see old school heel doing that. I mean, you know, Larkin's got the big girl porn sites, but I mean, Hurls is watching, you know, the big girl getting, you know, in a fucking horse gangbang kind of thing. You know what I mean? With little kids watching.
Oh man. Oh man.
That's the levels of Hurls is, you know, with all the pornog and stuff that Hurls has been into over the years. I mean, that's gonna take a while for Hurls, you know. He's gonna find something real fucked up to get Hurls going, but unfortunately, he contacted the Rona that way. So stay off the dark web, people. All right, we ready to hop into some of these plugs?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, of course, you know, you listen to us here on YouTube Live. You can check us out on Google+, iTunes, SoundCloud. And then, of course, as always, you can catch us at impactasylum.net. They were asking questions about the shows and stuff like that on Impact Asylum this week. So hopefully we'll get the show back on. There will be some Impact and TNA talk on the show today, even though we don't have Hurls. And then, of course, you know, check us out with our boy Andre Corbeil at Wrestling with Wrestling. You can catch the Heelcast with plenty of other content that Andre puts out on the site. So be sure to check out Wrestling with Wrestling. Of course, our boy Larkin at the SMS show and the LFC official podcast and Any Fat Woman Being Fucked on Camera podcast as well. So check that out. You know, the special one I want to shout out today, it's a new site that came out. It's called People's Championship Wrestling. So at Twitter, it's at PC Wrestling. Not politically correct. Lord knows I wouldn't endorse anything.
I was like, we can't endorse that if it's PC. We're out.
Absolutely not. No, it's People's Championship Wrestling. Now, new stuff, startup. These guys have an awesome idea. And right now they're having polls, you know, where you get to vote on a tournament to see who goes into the heavyweight championship tournament. Past, present, future wrestlers. It's really cool. It's a way to do like fantasy booking and fantasy wrestling. Now they put out an announcement today, just a little bit before we started doing the show. What they're going to do is Thursdays and Sundays, they're going to be doing a show like an animation, almost celebrity death match kind of a thing with the results where, you know, the fan votes gets to determine the matches, the angles, all of that. I think this is going to be really, really big and really good stuff. So I'm asking Heelcast family, listeners, everyone to give these guys a follow, check out what they do, and see where it goes from there. So it's at PC Wrestling on Twitter. You can get more information about them on there. So check that out. Big stuff. I'm really excited to see what these guys do. I'll be tuning in for sure. All right. Well, those plugs are done with pretty quick.
Yeah, you know what? It's nice to see that there's some some good content that people can get behind coming out. Far too often, it's just a bunch of crap out there anymore. So you guys are looking for something, go find these guys, check them out. They're new, they're fresh, they're exciting, and it sounds like they're doing some great things. So definitely something to get behind.
Yeah, and they're asking pick the wrestler that you would want to win, not who you think would be booked to win, but who's your favorite of it. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who I can't fucking stand, gets in this world title tournament. So, I mean, there's some surprises, some upsets. I think Raven got to win it in a match that I wouldn't have expected him to go over in today. I was hoping Lex Luger was going to get a nod and a rub there, but he didn't go over in one of the big tournament matches. So it's been fun and entertaining seeing these things. These guys are putting good, four-way matches together. People's voting, but it's pretty interesting stuff. So it's definitely had my interest. All right, sir. I mean, bitch. Are we ready to hop into the news, bitch?
Let's roll with it.
All right. So, first we've got it appears that the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, is going to be back this coming Tuesday. So they've been off for a while. New program returning on Tuesday. Now, when we last saw NWA, neither of us were really happy with the content. It was not what we had been enjoying previously. I'm excited to see them come back. What's your thoughts on it?
It's like this. They taped everything up at the Crockett Cup. And I think that's why they stopped putting content out, because they had everything up the Crockett Cup, but they couldn't have the Crockett Cup. So I'm assuming that they figured that by the time it rolls around, they'll be able to have the Crockett Cup now. But the point is that I don't think that we're going to be seeing anything new and innovative from them. I think we're going to be seeing the same old, in which case, I'm already a little disappointed. We can get into this a little bit more later, but it's kind of sad in a lot of ways that, I'm seeing people on my TV screen that don't belong on my TV screen, Joey Janela. And then you've got a guy like, James Storm, Eli Drake, and these guys are sideshows in the NWA on a YouTube channel. It's kind of disheartening in a lot of ways. And I don't think that they're being well used. I don't think NWA is doing a lot right now. I think when they got started, they were doing some pretty cool things, and I think they just went corny.
Yeah, I mean, I'd throw Pope into that category too, as far as three really good guys that are just kind of a sideshow there. I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. I feel like Eli Drake and Aldis should be the big thing that they've been building to, but now they got the Marty Scurll and the ROH partnership, and that's kind of taken over, and I feel like that's maybe why Storm and Drake have become the sideshow. I don't know that they're doing the best of... Okay, no, I do know they're not doing the best of product, because it really wasn't good. I don't know if it's been taped or not. Like you said, you could be right. I really don't know. For a company that I feel it's got to be hard for them to make a profit to start and pay their roster. Like, I know Billy Corgan's got a ton of money, but let's be honest, he doesn't have Tony Khan or Vince McMahon money. And I'm excited, I guess, for them to come back. If they're doing shows, that are brand new without a crowd. I mean, there's no revenue for NWA, period. There's no TV money. So it's kind of hard to say. I'm actually kind of worried about what happens to the promotion and what happens from there, because I don't know that they're going to last much longer with this COVID thing going on, but I guess we'll see where it goes, see where, the programming picks up at. But, the thing is, too, though, this Crockett Cup, it's Aldis versus Marty Scurll, which is honestly the biggest match in the new, rebuilt, rebranded NWA's history so far.
So let me ask you a question. How many wrestlers on that roster are, full-time contracted wrestlers?
Shit, I have no idea. I mean, I guarantee Aldis is in a contract. I'm sure Drake and Storm probably have, year-long deals or something like that.
It's just Aldis.
He's the only one?
It's just Aldis.
So everyone else is PA?
Yeah, somebody was saying recently that they thought that the Revival or whatever I don't know what they're going by anymore, but that Revolt, would be good for NWA, and Cornette jumped in and said, look, I'm positive that I was the second highest paid person on that roster. They weren't working for the money that I was working for. there ain't no way in hell these guys are going to the NWA. So he's got his costs, low, right? And he said second to Aldous, of course, right? That goes without saying. He's got his costs low, but man, the ceiling for what that company can do right now is so low that it's like, why are you bothering, dude? Why are you bothering?
Because they've invested the money in it, because Billy Corgan wants to be a wrestling promoter to have success. I mean, I appreciate the guy's drive and dedication and loyalty and passion for it, but his vision and impact, it wasn't that great when he took over, and it's been very hit or miss with the NWA, and right now I would say his vision isn't coming off that well.
Not right now. I think it started off pretty good, and I think they have some decent concepts and some decent pieces, but the puzzle itself is all over the place. Somebody's got to put it together. I've always been a Dave Lagana fan. I think Dave Lagana is very good, but this product just doesn't work. It just doesn't work right now. So I'll probably tune in. I'll probably check it out. Probably not going to guarantee it, but I don't know how many more weeks of NWA I have left in me, because it really, really needs some help.
Unless it turns a corner, there's been times where it was pretty decent stuff. You know what I mean? Actually, leading into their previous pay-per-view, I was really getting into it. If you're right, if everyone is paid per appearance there, AEW, what the fuck are you doing with James Storm and Eli Drake just sitting there ready for the take?
Exactly.
That's like, if Eli Drake is not under a contract, why in the fuck is AEW not gotten this guy? It's disappointing to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
You just fucked up my night.
I mean, that was the plan. I am a bitch. It's kind of what we do.
True.
I mean, it's what we do.
So, well, look, NWA did return after being off for a big hiatus. Now, there's another company that sounds like it's actually on the return after a big hiatus, too. It was supposed to be a one-night thing, which got pushed back due to the COVID, but so, did you hear about this? So, at the Rebellion tapings for Impact, it was supposed to be Elgin versus Tessa versus Eddie Edwards. So, neither Tessa or Eddie could show up, but out comes Moose wearing not Impact, but the TNA Heavyweight Championship. I actually turned into the last hour of Impact on Tuesday. Look, I love TNA. I miss TNA. I never wanted to go away from TNA. There's been talks that Access was really happy with the TNA special that they put on the air, and they're wanting to see more TNA. Now, you talked about this with Hurls on the show a couple weeks back, and we're saying, what if they do a split brand and bring TNA back? And I thought, you're out of your fucking mind. They don't have the money. They don't have the resources. No one's into it. The ratings aren't there, but it seems like it's a possibility now. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, my first question is who owns TNA? Is it owned by Dixie Carter?
I think Impact owns everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's owned by Anthem, right? So this is still an Anthem. This is an Anthem product, right?
Yes, sir.
So we gotta make sure we remember it's an Anthem product. All right, that's what I thought. I've always liked TNA. I understand why they went away from it. I didn't like it. I don't think anybody liked it, but I think we all understood it. The brand just had such a terrible name in the IWC and everything else. They needed to get away from it. And I'm not sure. Hurls and I did talk about this, and I don't know whether it speaks volumes to people saying that TNA had more value than they thought it did, or whether maybe the Impact brand has just suffered, right, over the years. I mean, they've done a lot of things, with the quality, the production quality. The wrestlers aren't the same. I know people say, hey, the matches are better, this, that, the other's very good. But, you kind of need to have those household names. And without the household names, the perceived quality, right, whether or not you think the product itself is better or worse, is probably a different story, right? That's subjective anyway. But the perceived quality, with the fans is lower without those names there. It's just reality, right? So, them bringing it back is kind of neat. I like nostalgia. I mean, look, Raven Effect, you and I, we go back and forth all day about 80s wrestling, 90s wrestling. So I don't know why I wouldn't be for, the TNA name coming back. It'll be interesting to see where this takes it. I am a little disappointed that, Tessa stayed in, Mexico when, she, in theory, could have stayed with relatives in Charlotte and gotten to Tennessee pretty quick from Charlotte, right? And actually been there. I don't care so much about Eddie Edwards because he's not the champ. He's not the face of the company. And Tessa Blanchard clearly is the face of the company and clearly should be, on the show as opposed to, hiding out in Mexico. I don't think Ric Flair would have done that, and I don't think Tully Blanchard would have done that either. I think they would have found a way to be there. So a little disappointed about that. But as far as TNA itself is concerned, I'm excited to see what this brings. I just hope that they're going to bring back, maybe some of the better older names as opposed to just some of these one-off appearances we've had so far.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Hernandez is back with the company full-time, too. I was never, and I've said this on the show for years, I've never been in favor of getting rid of the TNA name for Impact. Impact was the show of TNA. I've got nostalgia. I grew up, but I mean, TNA is what got me invested.
You'll never grow up, so...
What's that?
I said you'll never grow up, so we're good that way. You're covered that way.
Highly accurate, bitch.
Goddamn right.
But I miss TNA, man. I've been watching some of the older TNA too. I mean, I've watched so much fucking wrestling on this COVID break. I'm sad that it's going to come to an end in a week. But man, I miss the days of TNA. I always said I was never opposed to them dropping the TNA name. I miss the crowd going crazy and chanting TNA, those old school TNA crowds that were just the best crowds in wrestling since ECW. And I don't think there's been a crowd as good as the old TNA crowds were, since they died out when Hogan and Bischoff came in. Now, putting the championship belt on Moose, I wish he would have won it, but it's a guy that I think should have the belt. He's definitely a world title, and he's been long overdue to become the champion in that company. If it's a TNA versus Impact thing or whatever, I mean, I'm all for TNA. I'm all for watching the TNA company as long as they don't have the bullshit with the intergender wrestling. That TNA title hasn't been tarnished. The Impact World title has. I don't like the intergender stuff. I hope that goes away in TNA. I can't stand seeing Jordan Grayson. That's the shit that the Impact brand is representing right now, which I can't stand. TNA, I miss. I love the world champion in TNA. I'm disgusted by the world champion in Impact for multiple reasons. There are her, comments that she's made, and also the fact that a woman shouldn't be the world champion of the men. It's stupid and it's not believable. But the thing too, and here's two things I want to make is I got one prediction here. I've said this to you guys. Is my prediction is Eric Young will return with the TNA Legends Championship. I think EY is going to be probably their top target because I think EC3 is going to go elsewhere. EY is synonymous with TNA. He is a TNA legend. He had that belt multiple times. So him coming out, and if you think about it, look at all the people that are in TNA. Hernandez, RVD, Ken Shamrock, Rhino, all these legends that have been represented with the TNA brand way before the Impact thing. So that's my prediction. And another thing too is, man, I think, and this is what sucks, if they did this right, I think they could do an awesome NWO type of angle with the TNA invading Impact to try and take over. You got like Chris Sabin and Petey Williams there, but you have Moose leading it, the return of EY, you got the TNA originals, you bring in Hernandez back and some other guys. The problem with that is, one, they'd have to do it right, and two, I don't think that they would, but they've also done this. They've new management, but same shit with the company, unfortunately. I mean, shit, we've both been so damn loyal to TNA for fucking 17, 18 years that this shit is just ridiculous now, and we've seen it all. But the other problem is they've done this fucking invasion angle. They did it with Immortal, then they did it with GFW in 2015, and then they really actually did it with GFW at one point and then had to drop it due to legal stuff. And it's just they've milked this well so many times dry, but now that they actually have a really good thing they could do with it, it's like, who wants to see it now, because it'd be the fourth time they've done something like this.
Well, and who's left to fight it? I mean, first of all, I love the idea. I actually love everything you just said, except for maybe one piece, and that is Eric Young with a Legends belt. I'd rather see EY come in as, a main event caliber talent and not be tied to an old guy. Because, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather see them bring in somebody a little bit older with the Legends belt. as opposed to EY, who I would like to still think of as maybe being in his prime or close to it, right? That's about the only minor thing that I would say that I would disagree with. That having been said, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense for where they are. Completely makes a lot of sense. My question is, is okay to do this invasion angle. You have to have the right pieces on each side. WCW had it, right? TNA never has. And that's kind of the problem too, right? So you have to have the right people fighting against the right people. And they don't, are they really going to put Tessa Blanchard as the face of Impact? Is Tessa Blanchard just going to potentially leave with the Impact Championship if her contract expires and she doesn't make it back to a match? I mean, could you imagine
her throwing the Impact World Title away?
And Moose has said that NXT. Moose has said he doesn't want to wrestle her for the Impact Championship anyway because it's not believable. He doesn't want to win his World Championship from a woman that in theory he would just pick up, squash, and that'd be the end of it, right? Because there's no way. This is the believability, like you said, Raven Effect is out the window, which it really makes it sad because Moose still hasn't won a World Championship. He just kind of picked one out of the trash and walked in with it. I mean,
apparently it was in what do you call it? They said it was when I checked out Impact on Tuesday and they did an interview with Josh Matthews. It said something like he was in they got it out of a warehouse or something like that. Which is better than saying they got out of the trash can because that's what they did with the King of the Mountain belt or.
It was EY did it. EY picked up. It was the Jeff Hardy had thrown it in the trash can when he had his goofy purple belt. I think he threw it in the trash and EY picked it up and sort of run around with it.
That's right. But didn't he also pick out the TV title out of the trash?
I mean, Eric Young's been dumpster diving for a long time, but look, Eric Young needs to be back on TV, so I'm happy to have Eric Young in Impact. Put him anywhere. I will say this though, you mentioned about rabid crowds. Those AEW crowds are pretty damn good themselves, so let's give a little bit of love there.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like, if they do bring back TNA, they're going to need tag titles, knockouts title, that they'll need a mid-card too, to combat the X Division or whatever. And it's well, they've had that title that they've fucked up so many times, but now would actually be a decent time to do the Legends Championship because pretty much half the people they can only sign are old washed up wrestlers like RVD and Sabu and Rhino and so forth.
And nobody wants them in an invasion angle. Just don't.
Exactly.
You need Brian Cage. You need Brian Cage for something like this. That's the kind of body and athlete that you need.
True. I mean, Moose is similar. Moose is credible. He's a legit athlete. He's huge, great shape. And Ethan Page is kind of the reason why the TNA thing came back. I mean, you put the North over there, to represent TNA, and then you can bring back the older guys. You can bring in Saban and Petey, and they've brought back some of the TNA talent. So it's hard to say what they could do for it. I'm actually a little bit intrigued though. I'll see how things go before deciding if I actually tune in because I was not a fan of what I saw in Impact this week. But it was, I don't have the investment that I used to have either. Any other thoughts on TNA versus Impact sort of a thing?
I got nothing right now, man. I got nothing. But, let's hope that they do it. Let's hope they do it right, and let's hope it works out for them.
Absolutely. So, we'll see where it goes. Now, Roman Reigns backed out of WrestleMania, where he was scheduled to beat Goldberg for the world title. That's pretty much a given even before he backed out of WrestleMania. We knew he was going to go over in that. So what's happened now? So it's funny because Jim Cornette was saying he bet that he had a hunch that Vince is pissed off at Roman Reigns for not showing up. Now it seems like that's the case. So it appears, from what I understand, that WWE is actually refusing to mention or bring up Roman Reigns' name, the guy that they've been trying to push as their next John Cena or The Rock. And apparently they cut him out from a video package this past Monday on Raw. So it seems as if they're blackballing Roman Reigns. Now, this is a WWE thing to do. I'm sure Vince is pissed, but in typical brother _ fashion, I'm going to go ahead and say, I think this is actually going to be an angle. I think it's a work. Normally, it's the other way around. But what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I know you've been saying that could very well be an angle, and that they're gonna bring Reigns back in. He's gonna feud with McMahon, blah blah blah. And I am unequivocally, folks, the king of it's an angle. Like how many times do we even have count? How many times that's bitten me in the ass over the years? Like, it's a lot. Like, my ass hurts just thinking about it.
We don't have a count, but that AJ Styles one is always gonna come back to haunt you.
I mean, it's bad. It's bad, right? So, my issue here is that people have been saying that McMahon doesn't really have it anymore. That they're questioning whether he's sick or not, because he comes out, he doesn't have the energy. He's not the same Mr. McMahon with the swag behind stage, right, as opposed to on stage as well, right? So I'm not buying this as an angle. I'm going to sell this as an angle just because I don't think McMahon could do it. What I will tell you is this, though. I am your prototypical get your ass to work and do your job kind of guy, particularly if you're the face of the company. You just heard me bash Tessa Blanchard for it, right? Roman Reigns gets a pass on this, like, even from a guy like me, which is, like, not going to miss a day of work. That's not my style. Roman Reigns is like the one guy that's like, he has a compromised immune system from not one, but 2 bouts of leukemia, dude. 2 of them. I'm sorry, he needs to miss WrestleMania. It's not worth his life. The fans understand, and this is probably, sadly, the only way to ever put this guy over as a face anyway. But seriously,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
The thing. So for one, I will bet my life Vince is pissed off at Roman Reigns. Backed out of Mania for one of their world titles, which are supposed to be important, but they're not anymore to that company at least. And it's WrestleMania, so they had to improvise and put basically a mid-carder who keeps failing as the guy that beats Goldberg on the big stage, sort of a thing, in one of the worst matches I've ever seen, if not the. But Vince will not fucking let Roman Reigns leave. I think it's either 2 things are going to happen. Either one, he's pissed off at Roman, and they're going to sit him on the fucking couch until his contract runs up, because Lord knows that's the guy they don't want to go over to AEW. That would probably be the biggest loss they could have, other than John Cena or Undertaker or some shit going over there. But, Undertaker's 78 years old. No one's going to want to watch him perform other than these stupid boneyard matches. So it's either that, or I think they're going to bring this back as an angle, and I actually think it's going to pick up and be hot. I think first it's going to be hot with him returning, kind of like the Renegade CM Punk thing they tried to do. You don't want me in the company, you're blackballing me because I missed WrestleMania, whatever. But in typical WWE fashion, it's going to be ruined within a month or 2, because they're going to oversaturate it and have these shitty writers write it, and it's going to fail. It's not going to be that hot, but it will be very big when it happens. This will get Roman over as a face, at least temporarily. But shit, man, how can you be mad at this fucking guy? With all the media hysteria going on about this COVID being the most deadly thing ever, the guy's got a very compromised. You can't be mad at the guy for not wanting to die. But that's the shit that Vince McMahon is literally upset and butthurt over. It's typical, but...
Oh, it's very typical. It's very typical. My only thing, though, is that, they have been writing him literally out of TV. Like, apparently they showed the match that he had been in with Lesnar or something, and somebody else interfered, and at any rate, they like legitimately made it sound like, Brock Lesnar was wrestling himself and didn't even show Roman Reigns. And I would think if they were planning on bringing Roman Reigns back, they would at least not want you to forget about him completely. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how you bury one of your biggest stars either. It's like, right now with ratings the way they are, don't they kind of need stars as opposed to be burying them?
They do. It's crazy. The guy decides, hey, I don't want to risk my life and die. So, like, let's give him the Hulk Hogan racist and Chris Benoit murdering his family treatment. It's fucking insane to me. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the thing that drives me the craziest is people will still support and fucking tune into this company like it's fucking Reigns' fault, sort of a thing. It blows my mind, the support that they can still get. The Dark Side of the Ring shit came out and all this. I understand the ratings are dropping, but people are still so fucking loyal to this company, no matter how shitty the product is or how shitty the person behind it is. It's despicable. Stop watching WWE, retards.
Damn right. Let's stop talking about WWE because we're retards too.
One more topic on them,
oh, we do?
We do. So, and this is one thing that it's rumored, and I know if Roman Reigns asked for this, it wouldn't happen, but apparently after all these cuts, they've told the roster that if you want to quit, if you want out of your contract, you can leave.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling Roman Reigns, if he were to go and say, hey, this is bullshit, I want out of my contract, they're not fucking letting him
go. No. But who's going to say that they want out of their contract when there's no fucking place to go and they're all sitting around getting paid?
Exactly. So, I mean, they open this up, but for what? You know, no one knows when anyone can be hired again. We don't know what's happening. AEW is not hiring anyone yet. No one's hiring anyone, at least from what's understood. And who's going to walk away when literally this is the only company with a huge stability that's pretty much always guaranteed to be around? And on top of it, you know, if you burn that bridge, if stuff doesn't work out, or AEW folds, or Impact folds, or ROH folds, which is probably a probability at some point, the door's closed. Because Vince is going to look at it like you quit WWE, you walked away, you turned your back on the company, you wanted nothing to do with them, and it's done. I saw one person possibly being able to do it, and that was Jeff Hardy, to go over and do the broken stuff with Matt, get the creative freedom and the creativity back. But why is he going to do that? Why burn the bridge with WWE when you know they'll take you back? There's Legends contracts, there's Hall of Fame inductions that will basically be eliminated for you for any potential possibility if you were to walk out on the company.
Yep. Now, to be fair, Jeff Jarrett is back with the company.
True.
So, anything can happen over time, right? Never say never in this business. Never say never.
Very true. But I still feel like no one's going to be dumb enough to do that.
No.
You know, it reminds me when WCW did it years ago, and Raven walked out, and, you know, the next, I think it was the opening night of fucking ECW on TNN, you know, the Dudleys are leaving, and they're off to WWF, and they defend their title successfully, and they're walking out the door, and then, you know, one of the biggest, most historic fucking pop moments in ECW history, when Raven comes out and helps Dreamer win the tag team titles, and throws the belt in his chest, and Dreamer's standing there just stunned. I mean, that moment was amazing, but we're not going to get a secondary of that.
Mm-mm.
It's just not going to happen at this point. You know, because WWF and WCW were a lot bigger. ECW was bigger than any of the other companies this day and age. So it's disappointing to see, but it's a way for WWE to save face, but they know nothing's going to happen. All right. Anything else?
On WWE?
Yeah.
Fuck WWE.
Am I missing any other news before we start reviewing some shows?
No, I think we're good. Let's start reviewing, man.
All right. Well, did you watch Dark Side of the Ring the past week or two?
I have not. I have not caught Dark Side of the Ring.
All right. Well, I won't review it then. Just because I don't want to spoil too much or get into it too much. But it's been pretty good shows. They just did the UWF with Herb Abrams, which I didn't know much about. And they did the David Schultz story, which I didn't know a ton about either. So it was nice from the perspective to learn stuff that I didn't already know most of the backstory to. But it was, you know, David Schultz is a fucking legit badass. Like, that's a bad motherfucker. But that's really all. But they were good shows, and my dogs are barking. Sorry, just a sec. I'll let you talk.
Me talk or your dogs talk?
Yeah, I'm sure the dogs will interrupt too. But, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I doubt there's anything you have to add to it, so we can kind of move on to Impact and AEW review. But
now let's hit Impact and AEW, man. We need Hurls.
I know. But I did catch the last hour Impact. I was not impressed with it. So it was basically, I needed to kill some time while I was doing some chores, and I turned on the last hour Impact. There was the Moose interview that I caught, and then they did the tag team match and the cinematic shit that WWE's done, that Lucha Underground started. Matt Hardy did an Impact with the North against some jobbers, and I was not entertained at all. And maybe it's just because I don't like it, but it's not my thing. There was Joseph P. Ryan against Cousin Jake, and maybe it was decent, but I was bored by it. I wasn't impressed. And I'm thinking maybe it's just because I don't have the investment in anyone at Impact really, other than like 4 or 5 people. But I wasn't feeling it. It turned into the main event, which was the only thing that was decent on there. It was Willie Mack against Chris Bay and the dork magician douchebag that fucked everyone's wife.
Ace Austin.
Willie Mack retained. What's that?
Ace Austin.
Yeah, but I had no interest. I didn't like the show that I saw. I know Rosemary was on there, but I didn't pay attention to what was going on there. And fuck, I don't know. If I'm ever going to get invested in this company again, it's got to be the TNA thing, and they got to stop the intergender shit. But I don't. Anything you add on to Impact? I
mean, it's the biggest thing, right? They need to get rid of the intergender thing. And I think as long as Testa's the champion over there, it's going to be hard for me to get into it, you know? And I listen and I hear the good things about guys like Chris Bay and Ace Austin, although when I was watching, Ace Austin just did not impress me in any way, shape, or form personally. But I hear good things about him, and I love me some Willie Mack. I mean, how can you not get behind Willie Mack? But those guys in the main event does not sound like that's a top draw. That doesn't sound like a needle-moving kind of event. It feels like, you know, 3 mid-carders shoved into a main event, kind of like Ring of Honor style. And that's what it sounds like.
Basically, it's what it was. I mean, I've petitioned for a long time for, you know, any title match to be the main event of the shows, you know, so it's given the X Division title some credibility, but it just didn't have any plus value. It was good, but it wasn't like blown away or wow, that was great. Classic kind of shit. It was just, you know, average at best, sort of a match, I guess. But so, and I can't stand Jordynne Grace. I'm glad I didn't have to see her, but I mean, just hearing her name just makes me cringe. Everything about this girl I can't stand. So,
Jordynne Disgrace.
Yes, Jordynne Disgrace.
Jordynne Disgrace.
Yeah, who apparently had to, and I don't blame, you know, fucking fans going over the line and finding wrestlers' personal addresses and shit. But it used to be a thing back in the days. Fan mail and her, you know, talking about how she's creeped out by someone that had sent her something in the mail to like autograph or whatever. It's just, Jordynne, you're not that fucking popular. You're not that big. No one wants to have sex with you. I'm sorry. I can't even believe Jonathan Gresham does. I don't know why she has to toot her own horn so much to make it look like she's so important and everything, just a big story. But the girl needs to just have social media taken away. She's terrible.
Well, you know, she's the one that goes off on whatever that website is and is always selling pictures of herself, you know, like wearing like lingerie and this and that and the other and trying to make money off of it. And on one hand, I look at it and I go, man, you know, I wouldn't buy this shit to save my life. Well, on the other hand, I think, well, hey, at least she's out there trying to make a buck and trying to, you know, to be a businesswoman. And I do have to respect that at some level. But on the other hand, I mean, she's all about this women's power, this, that, the other bullshit. And there she is selling her body. It's like, the fuck is wrong with you? Like, that's not the kind of shit that I'd teach my daughters to do. My daughters ain't never going to be doing that shit. Not as long as I'm alive. You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of like you want to be a role model for women, and then that's what you do. It's really very disgraceful.
Well, much like the Joe Biden for campaign or for president stuff and his sexual assault allegation, most of these progressive liberal social justice lawyers, such as Jordynne Grace, are massive hypocrites, and that's what she comes off as every time she talks or types.
Completely. Every time that she runs her mouth, she's a hypocrite. And, you know, I don't have to agree with you, but damn, don't be a hypocrite.
Right. So, on to the big show.
Hey, have you seen that show?
I have not seen the Big Show.
The Big show is a good show, dude. It is awesome. I love it. He is great, and his cast around him is awesome, too.
I saw that the girl that was Caroline on that 70s show is playing his wife. That's all I really know about it.
Yeah, she's good, too. But it's funny because she's like 4 foot tall. And so she goes to kiss him at one point, and she has to like get up on a step stool. It's hysterical. No, that show is actually very well done, very well put together, and even Dudette watches it. So definitely, if you haven't checked out The Big Show on Netflix, check out The Big Show on Netflix. Paul White's a funny guy, and I watch it. I think, man, 20 years ago when I was watching this guy, and actually more than 20 years ago, going back 25 years ago, really, in WCW, who would have thought that I'd be watching him, you know, today, and he'd be this good? You know what I'm saying? So check it out. It's a great show.
Yeah, that guy that lost a motor or a monster truck fight, and then fell off a fucking 10-foot building and should have died, but came back and beat Hulk Hogan for the world title that night is now, who would have thought, right?
Right.
Oh, the joys of WCW in '95 and 2000 and 2001. What's up, Hurls?
Russo!
Hurls is undying love for how great Russo's WCW was or should have been. Yeah, the good old WCW conversation. But ready to hop into the major show of the week?
Yes, because it was fantastic this week. I don't actually mind talking about it.
All right, so let's get into Monday Night Raw and NXT.
Oh, fuck you.
Fuck those shows, they say.
Oh, my God. I feel like your bitch now. I totally feel like it.
No, baby. Dynamite. AEW. Now, I've seen some people kind of, down on the shows the past couple weeks and saying they were duds and needed to come out and do a good show. I don't think they've been that bad. The past couple weeks haven't been great. Some of them have been much better than others. But this show was really good. It started off kind of meh, and it was, shit, are they putting out kind of a stink bomb tonight on the live show? But really, towards the end, it just kicked ass. So, the opening was Cody against Joey Janela. Now, I missed most of this match. From what I understand, there was a lot of botches in it. But I caught probably, the last 30% of the match. And I'll say this, from what I saw, and I've never been impressed with the guy, and I probably never will be, but Cody, much like he has with Shawn Spears and MJF and everyone else, got the best performance of Joey Janela's AEW career going on this past show. Your thoughts on that match?
I mean, I'll give it that, but Joey Janela, he don't belong on my TV screen, dude. This guy just reeks of indie wrestler. And, when you watch this match and you're looking at Cody and you're looking at the shape that Cody's in, right? Now, Cody's bigger, taller guy, don't get me wrong, but, Cody's buffed out. You can tell he's hitting the gym. He's doing everything right. And he's also the VP. He's also got the name behind him. His father was a fat slob, but he knows better. And then you look at Joey Janela, and Joey Janela's like 5'6", and he still weighs about 190 pounds. There's no muscle on him at all. You see him outside the ring in segments, and he's smoking cigarettes, and you're thinking to yourself, this dude, while everybody else is at the gym, he's just sitting out there, being a freaking burnout. And it's like, he's just not that good in the ring. He's indie-rific. He just doesn't look the part. He's not putting the time in. That's not what stars do. And this is a guy who, is not a star. I know he's got his promotion. He's got this, that, the other. But this is not a guy you can build behind. Go find somebody you can build behind and get Joey Janela the hell off of my TV screen.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we both said on here, nothing screams indie wrestling more than Joey Janela. And, the thing, too, that's kind of unfortunate that the situation AEW is in right now is like they had to build a roster kind of from scratch, and there wasn't a lot out there. So they scraped a lot of the indies and put these guys and gals in contracts. Here's the problem now is that WWE literally releases enough wrestlers that are bigger than like the Impact and ROH rosters just on their own, and MLW and all that. Now AEW can go out and get all the guys and gals that they should have gotten or would have wanted to start your roster, but they can't afford it. Not only one with this COVID shit going on, but they've got all these other wrestlers into a contract too. And now they, what are they going to just release everyone? Which they can't do because that's kind of fucked up. But it sucks now because you have the Joey Janellas, your Luthers, your QT Marshalls and Brandon Cutlers and Leva Bates and all these people that shouldn't be on TV that they could replace for WWE's releases that are better, that are more TV ready and TV experience, but they're in a pickle. It's impossible for them to sign all these people out there, and that sucks.
Well, it depends. Like some of these guys, you would think that they're putting them on PPAs anyway. I can't imagine they sign all these people to exclusive, expensive deals. And if you got them all on PPAs, then you know what? You can afford to sign some more. And then you just cut one here and there. Nobody ever know you did it. You know what I'm saying? And you cut 5, you add 5. You wait a while, you cut 5, you add 5. They don't need to add a whole lot more. Let's face it. Right now, despite everything that they've said, I saw on Facebook today, and it's completely accurate, dude. They're pushing the old WWE stars anyway. So they really need is to work on building their own stars. And let's face it, they said they weren't going to do it, but they had to do it. And we all knew they were going to do it. So get over it, right? But that's pretty much what's happened because, it was supposed to be Jericho versus, Pac for the first championship, but Pac couldn't do it. So, they did manage to throw in Hangman Page. And then, who's Jericho lose it to? Moxley. Right, who's Jericho's first championship, defense against? Cody. Who's Moxley's first one against? WWE. Who's his second with WWE? But they'll get there. It's just the guys that they're trying to build right now are guys like Darby Allin, who's just not gonna be over in the world title scene and shouldn't be, to be honest with you. I mean, I like him, but he's freaking my size. Actually, he's probably smaller than I am. So it's like, can't put him over, Luchasaurus is just got a stupid gimmick to go over, and you're gonna pull up Lance Archer. Well, they're trying hard, but he just got there. Dude's been there for a minute, so it's like, the fuck are you gonna put over? So I would honestly, if I were AEW, I would limit the number of WWE people that I brought in. I really would. I don't know which ones that I would bring in or not bring in, but there wouldn't be a ton of them. I'd probably bring in Mike Bennett. I really like Mike and Maria. And Maria gets to come too.
No, I mean, here's the thing too, though, that you mentioned, the WWE guys, and are they going to bring in all these WWE talents? And can you honestly say no? Would you say EC3? Would you say Mike Bennett? Would you say Eric Young or WWE guys, or do you associate them with ROH and TNA and Impact? Because I see them more as, Mike Bennett more of an ROH guy. I see Bennett and EC3 and Eric Young is Impact talents more than WWE sort of a thing. Anderson and Gallows, they're more New Japan made than WWE made sort of a thing too. But
so to answer your question, I don't really. First of all, I personally don't give a shit where you're from, and I had this comment for somebody who was going ape shit on Asylum the other day. And they were calling Rich Swann a WWE guy. And it's like, really? What more does this guy have to do? He was damn near your Wrestler of the Year. He's, he works there full time. He's been there full time, kicking ass, taking names. His wife's there. The whole freaking they're all about Impact in that household. And my response to this guy was something along the lines of, I really don't care that you had an ex-girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like you could still be my girlfriend now, kind of thing. I don't give a shit. Nobody else should either. But when I say ex-WWE guys and building their own, I'm thinking from the casual fans' perspective, Raven Effect. And that means the masses that you're trying to bring in to watch your show. And I don't mean this in any way, shape, or form to be disrespectful, but Impact and Ring of Honor, if you added every single one of their, unique fans, you're not moving the needle, because AEW has the majority of them already. So they're really trying to market to the WWE fans that don't watch those other shows. And those people think of Mike Bennett, whether you and I agree, and I don't agree either, as being WWE. EC3 is WWE. And to be fair, he sandwiched an Impact run between an NXT run and, another WWE run. I think that's just the reality behind this. That's the perception. Once you've been in WWE, if you actually did anything at all there, you're a WWE guy.
Or as they like to call it, WWE reject.
Reject.
Very stupid in most cases, but it's a thing. Before we move on there's one thing I want to bring up to it, and it's about Cody. And I want to give the guy all the props in the world. Look, Cody's never struck me as like he puts on a 5-star match kind of a thing. And I'm not a 5-star match person. Fuck Dave Meltzer. I can't stand the guy. But Cody...
Really? Tell us what you really think about Dave Meltzer, Raven Effect.
That was done years ago on this show, which caused some controversy between the originals. But the brother underscore here actually had my back on it. So... no, Cody Rhodes, man, has put on, gotten the best match out of just about everyone he's worked with. You know what I mean? Like, everyone that Cody has worked with has had the match of their career, in my opinion, at least in AEW. MJF, him and MJF had a great match, fantastic build. But you look at Shawn Spears, he was kind of like, God, this guy, just get him off TV. Well, he fucking impressed when he went out there with Cody in that second match. He got the best out of Janela, and I think we're going to see the best match that, I don't know his Japan days or whatever, but I think it, Double or Nothing, you're going to see the best Lance Archer match we've seen in the United States, beating his TNA, his WWE stints. I think him and Cody are going to put on one hell of a match.
I hope so, dude, because I am a Lance Archer fan at this point. I'm actually more of a Jake the Snake fan, and man, was I jealous of him when he was laying over Brandy Rose. Oh, God. Snaker's no snake. You'd insert yours.
Which we'll get to here shortly, because, man, I want to talk about that fucking segment. I got plenty to say on that. And obviously, I brought up something with us in the chat, a week ago or so about something, and then they brought it up on the TV last night. But so we had the Nyla Rose segment. I don't know how much fucking time they planned on spending on that training on that show, but it was way too long. She sounds like a man. There's nothing feminine about her voice. The fucking, I was kind of surprised to see another squash match, now that they're live and they got much more of a roster with them. But just he is so fucking reckless in the ring, and I missed it because I was, I'm not gonna watch this match, but I was texting back and forth with Old School Heel during it, and he told me that the girl that she was wrestling seemed like she legit got hurt at the end when Nyla did some big splash off the top, and wasn't going for a leg, but immediately the chick's grabbing her leg, and there's probably a strong chance that Nyla actually fucking injured this girl. It's just put the belt on Britt. That's all I got to say. Your thoughts?
I fast forwarded through it. Skipped it. It was catch up time.
Yeah, I watched live, so I didn't, but I went outside and smoked and stuff.
It got me to a point, okay? Honestly, God, it got me to a point where I was able to be done watching, Dynamite by 11 o'clock so I could hop in the hot tub with the wife and, wind the evening down. And if I'd have watched Nyla Rose, I'd have been late. Definitely the best choice I made all day. And I would probably not have been able to get in the hot tub. No.
You see Nyla Rose and you feel like, it's you've been in a cold shower for hours.
Yeah.
That penis getting real small. Shit. So in the best news of all night is not only is MJF 100% healed, he's coming back to take his throne, but he's overhealed. Thank God. Thank God. Our savior, the salt of the earth, is just fine. And it sucks they're wasting him on fucking Jungle Boy at the pay-per-view. I don't know what Tony Khan sees in Jungle Boy, other than the fact that his dad was big in the early 90s. I don't get it, but that's a pay-per-view match. Move on.
Yeah, man. I totally think that the whole thing that they did with MJF and was it a hangnail, a paper cut? What the hell was wrong with him again?
It was originally a hangnail, and then I think he said he got something else, some other kind of, like nicked himself clipping his toenails or some shit. It was funny.
It was a way, I guess, to get him on TV, but I think they could have come up with something better for him. But I do like the fact that they worked hard to not have us forget about MJF. Because there's been a lot of guys that we haven't seen. We haven't seen Hangman Adam Page. We haven't seen the Young Bucks, and I understand the Young Bucks live a long way away and they got families and everything else. And I can respect that. They're not the face of the company, but you'd like to see them on TV, at least in some way, shape, or form. And you like to see, Hangman Page. And they did a little something at the Young Bucks compound, and it was kind of lame, right? But Hangman we haven't seen at all. So, at least they got MJF involved. But it was terrible. They're not winning any Emmys for it, let's put it that way. No Oscars are being shelled out to MJF anytime soon.
Well, there damn well should be, though.
There should be, yeah, but he would just insult the voters.
Better than us, and we know it.
And we know it, that's right.
So we had a non-title match. We had the champion Jon Moxley against my boy Frankie Kazarian. Man, I'm happy as hell to see Kazarian get that spot. The match was good, but truthfully, I guess I expected a little bit better than it was. It almost kind of seemed like the timing has been off. Couple things. For one, Frankie Kazarian, in my opinion, one of the most underrated, underappreciated wrestlers of ever. When TNA tried to push him, what was it, 2008 or 9, they tried to push him towards the main event. I think it was 09. And it just failed. It didn't go to where it could have. Later on, he gets paired up with Daniels with Bad Influence, which later became The Addiction onto SCU. And I feel like when Kazarian picked up the personality that he got with Daniels, if he would have had that in 09, he would have been a champion and a star and came a lot farther in the business. That said, I was still happy to see him in that spot. Moxley, of course, is going to go over. I don't think anyone was expecting Kazarian to win. I don't feel they've done that good of a job pushing Moxley as a champion after that huge build-up. He's had a concussion that he suffered with Jericho, filming some cage fighter movie that I guess Christian is involved in too. But I don't know if it's the concussion to where he's kind of working a different style, but he hasn't worked the same style. He hasn't been the same champ. He hasn't had the same luster, in my opinion. We'll talk about the number one contender for the pay-per-view afterwards, but your thoughts on the match and what I said about Mox.
Well, Mox needs the crowd. He enters into the crowd. He feeds from the crowd, and we can talk about Brody Lee, and I suppose we will. But Brody Lee even was like, "Hey, man, there's no crowd for you to get energy from," and he does. He gets his energy from the crowd. As far as Kazarian's concerned, yeah, Kazarian was definitely much, much, much better once he joined with Daniels. There's no doubt about it. But I think that his personality feeds from Daniels more so than it's him per se. Kaz reminds me a lot of an Eddie Edwards type of wrestler. Great in the ring, good overall hand, but in terms of having the charisma to be a number one guy, I don't see it. But for some reason, AEW apparently is getting ready to give a big push to Scorpio Sky, and that's why they've been doing the background, shots on him and whatnot. So apparently he's in line for a big push, and it's like, why him? Because I don't really see much in Scorpio Sky either. Like, they got a lot of young talent there, but for some reason they're picking Scorpio Sky. And so I think having him around Moxley, even if it's Kazarian that's taking the L, is kind of, breeding that up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the Scorpio Sky push, I'm in the middle on it. I think he's a good talent, but I just don't see as much in him as apparently Tony Khan does. And look, both of these, like Daniels has got to be on his way down and way out of wrestling. I believe he's over 50 years old. One of my all-time favorite guys. That just deserves so much, and hopefully he ends up at the commentary booth when he does wind down.
Oh, that'd be great.
Him and Kaz deserve it better, and I make the Eddie Edwards comparison, which I get. They're two guys that got two good-looking guys. Great in-ring technicians. I'll say Kazarian's got a lot more personality than Eddie does, but I see what you're getting at there. I just, it's I wish Kazarian's career could have gotten further than it did, and I think he deserves it more, but it is what it is.
Now, Daniels just turned 50 last month, or actually in March, so.
I mean, he's been wrestling forever. He was actually in WCW in the end, and then all his TNA and ROH runs, and all over the place. So, Curry man, gotta love Daniels. But one thing I don't love though is, and I understand, and I don't know how much of it is, the fact that Double or Nothing isn't going to have the availability of the full roster, because of this COVID thing and the pandemic and the traveling and all that. I don't feel like they have their full. I don't think we're going to see Hangman Page or at least Nick Jackson at the pay-per-view. But so Brody Lee and the Dark Order attack afterward. And we end up with Brody Lee against Jon Moxley headlining this pay-per-view, which I hate. It's nothing against Brody Lee. It's multiple. One, it's too soon for the guy, in my opinion. I don't think he's done enough. I think you need to build him up. But more importantly, man, where did he just come over from? Because it looks to anyone, it's like, okay, they're just pulling a TNA all over again. And they're taking the WWE rejects and they're pushing them way to the top in main event. This isn't a main event pay-per-view match, especially for, in my opinion, what might actually be kind of if you look at it laid out, what's the biggest AEW pay-per-view of the year? What's their WrestleMania or Slammiversary supposed to be? Probably Double or Nothing. And it's just, this shouldn't be headlining it. I don't think he's done enough. I think you need to build him up. And it really just looks like they're taking a WWE below, lower mid-card guy and throwing him in the main event of AEW's fucking pay-per-view. And I'm not buying it yet.
So what's your take on Brody Lee and AEW? Do you think he's doing a good job, a mediocre job, or do you think he's sucking ass?
I think he's done a good job, but I don't think he's done a great job. I don't think he's had enough time to do a great job to really get this thing over. Has he, shaped Dark Order into something better? Yeah, but it's really just him. The tag team or whatever, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson have won more matches, and they're apparently ranked number one now, which I think is a complete crock of shit. But it's what we have. And I think he's been good, but not, oh my God, this is, Steve Austin getting rebirthed, or Raven getting rebirthed, or something like that. Or someone takes some that they were and totally blows it out of the water with their next gimmick, Diesel or whatever. I just don't think it's that great. This pay-per-view, that being the main event, it just doesn't do anything for me. What's your take on it?
It doesn't do anything for me at all, and Brody Lee's not doing anything for me at all either. I mean, I don't want to say he's sucking ass, but he's definitely looking lower mid-card. I mean, the guy is just not convincing. Look, you got the Murder Hawk on one hand, you got Brody Lee, the Exalted One, on the other hand. You tell me which one of those guys is a legit badass that would scare the shit out of you, lead a clan, a cult, and everything else, and then you tell me which guy looks like he's soft. Which guy looks like, Joey Janela at 6'8". He's soft. He doesn't look like he's a legit badass. He just looks like he kind of waddles around like, that singlet thing that he's wearing is just, riding up his ass too much, dude. It's just not, something's off about him. Like I said, compare him to Lance Archer, and it's like, oh my God, I do not want to cross paths with that son of a bitch. Like, he legit gives you nightmares. Brody Lee's like, oh, dude, you just reek of lower mid card.
I wouldn't say lower, but I think he's probably done enough to break out of the whole Luke Harper stigma or where he was, but nowhere near main event world championship level. And if they put the belt on this guy, my God, like it's a disaster. And I'm pretty sure Moxley's going over, but look, they've been pushing this Dark Order thing hard.
So let's talk about that now. So Moxley goes over. We're all expecting Moxley to go over. He needs to go over in this match. Now you just had this Dark Order thing that you've invested how much in? And now it's like, and he lost. And Moxley don't have no friends to help him out. It's like, unless like Christopher Daniels is going to come out, right? And they're gonna cause, wreak some kind of havoc and cost Brody Lee the match. Brody Lee, he can't really afford to lose cleanly right now.
No, he can't. And it's a bad predicament that they're in. It's why do this? Why have this be the match? Why? Because Brody can't afford to lose, and neither can Moxley. Where does Dark Order go from here if they lose this match? This should be built to for him to get the title shot instead of just a couple months. And I understand they've had to tape stuff on the fly. They didn't have their roster there. Now they just got a little bit more of it back, and they don't have a lot of time to build to the pay-per-view like they have in the past. But it just feels way too thrown together, especially for what was supposed to be such a big pay-per-view.
I would have had no problem with Moxley Jericho 2 in that role, in that spot.
I would say Moxley versus Jericho versus Hardy, even.
That would have been great too. Or even Moxley versus Hardy would have been great. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
Me either. But we'll see where it goes. I don't know. I can't see that it would be a good idea for them to have Brody Lee lose the match either. Is the problem?
Yeah, Brody Lee can't lose. He cannot eat a clean pin.
So what do you think? Do you think it'd be worse for him to lose or worse for him to win?
I think it's worse for us if he wins.
Yeah. Second that, but
I think it's worse for him if he loses. I think there has to be some form of shenanigans in there to keep the strap on Moxley, and and move Brody Lee on to something else. Give me a good old Dusty finish.
Right. So I mean, but let's say this though: Brody Lee loses. Where's Dark Order go now?
Well, that's just it. They have to go and they have to find another group to feud with.
Because I have a feeling, it's not going to be Dark Order against Page and Omega. It's probably going to be Dark Order against SCU again. At the pay-per-view, a 6-man match. The Evil Uno and Grayson and that new guy that they brought in, the Heisman Trophy runner-up or whatever, that blew out his knee against SCU is probably my guess. But I would think maybe have them shoot for the tag belts first before you push your guy to the main event, and have him challenge for the title. But it's a bad predicament. And then let's see, on to the next. So we had Lance Archer against QT Marshall. Man, QT Marshall fucking sucked. Like, there's nothing good about this. I understand he brings value for production, and look, you film tapings at a gym, that's great. You guys shouldn't be on TV. There's nothing to literally. He's an average at best wrestler with no personality. He's Braxton Sutter, in all honesty, but probably a little bit more bland. I don't know. It's just bad. Look, and Archer did what he's supposed to do. Go out there and destroy the guy. And that said, it's like he's beaten both the Nightmare family. He's came in trying to challenge Cody from the start. That's been what they pushed to. But let's just be real. The biggest thing about this was the Jake the Snake bringing out the snake on Brandy after Britt Baker attacks her. But prior to that, they brought up this Tuesday in Texas from 1991 with the infamous Jake the Snake Roberts slapping Miss Elizabeth thing, which was huge. And it's funny because I had brought this up because I actually just watched this Tuesday in Texas this past week, and I had brought this up to you guys about, when Jake slapped Elizabeth, like, what fucking heat was that? Amazing, incredible. And in this day and age, it's like it wouldn't do the same because you got fucking Tessa Blanchard as a world champion in other companies. But they bring this up, and I can already tell you at this pay-per-view, you're going to see Jake slap Brandy and Brandy slap Jake back. But it's the vintage Jake the Snake out putting on Brandy. I mean, kind of thrusting and humping against her. It was very risky, very good, vintage Jake. It really stole the show and turned it into a really, it went from, this show's decent to, fuck yeah, this show is awesome now. Your thoughts on it?
It was great. I mean, like, it was, refreshing. And it just goes to show you when you get the talent and you get them engaged, what they can actually do, right? They didn't really have a live crowd, but they kind of did. There was some dude and his kid walking around. Did you notice that when they were outside the stadium?
I missed that, actually.
Yeah, no, there was some dude and his kid walking around, and it was like, how'd they get in there? Because you got to figure it's roped off. But they were just, like, randomly walking around, and it was, when they went outside and they were showing what Tony Schiavone kept calling a golf cart, which is actually not a golf cart. It's actually a Kawasaki Mule, but whatever. They were there, and it was like, it's almost like they had a little audience of people walking around, and they put on a show. And when they put Matt Hardy in the freezer and some of the other spots they did, it was well executed. It was one of those things that makes you go, I deserve this as a wrestling fan for having put up with the last, how many ever weeks of just, not so great wrestling. Having to put up with people like QT Marshall on my TV screen when I know Eli Drake is available, right? Definitely a breath of fresh air. Great performers doing great things, man. It was great.
It was. The Jake thing was fantastic. It felt, and I've been saying that it's felt like vintage 91 or 92 to me this whole time, and now it really feels like it's full throttle with Jake going full-blown heel. The Trust Me stuff, it's back. I'm more excited for Cody and Archer than any other match at Double or Nothing. We had a ladder match announced for it, but that main event, though, stole the show, too. What it just is fucking fun. You know what I mean? It was a fun fucking match. The brawling outside, they put Matt Hardy in that ice machine, and I was texting Old School Hill back and forth with it, and both of us at the same time, like, he's coming out as a different character after this. Do gotta say, though, seeing Matt Hardy in his old gear looked ridiculous. Like, the fucking terrible polyester shirts from the late '90s, straight out of Night at the Roxbury, and then the pants that you could get at your local Hot Topic in the dork section. He just looked 25 years too old to be wearing those clothes, and it showed that, Damascus coming out, and then the golf cart, or what was it? What is it called? Not a golf cart.
Kawasaki Mule.
Him driving that with his fucking hair and the crazy look on his face was hilarious. And I don't know if you caught this too, but did you see when he hit Sammy?
Oh yeah, when he ran it, yes, that was great.
And got to be much easier said than done, but it looked like Guevara maybe took that bump a little wrong, because his head looked like it legitimately fucking smacked that thing, like bad enough to give a guy a concussion.
So I was looking at that and waiting for him to see if he started bleeding, because you throw a bag of ice like that and have it hit you in the head, that shit's sharp. And I was dumbfounded as to how he didn't have blood, because it looked like he took that really poorly. But the fact that he didn't take blood led me to believe that maybe I was wrong, or maybe they filled the bag of ice with the kind of ice which is comes out of machines, which instead of being cubed is kind of like the round stuff like you get at McDonald's. They use a different style ice that maybe wouldn't hurt you as much. I don't know, but I couldn't believe he wasn't bleeding.
And it looked like he cracked his head on that, or like he hit his head hard on that mule. Did you catch the collision on that? It literally looked like he cracked his head on that.
It kind of looked like it might have he might have jumped back and not hit it all. But it was definitely cool. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a great way to end the show. I honestly felt there was no way that Hardy and Omega were going to lose that match, so I was really surprised with the outcome. It's good to see Santana and Ortiz back. I love those two guys. Fucking popped for that. Grant, I can tell you they're going to lose next week, though, but, which sucks. I'd like to see them a lot more in the tag team title picture, and Lucha Brothers as well, but it really ended the show on a high note and a very fun ending to the show. The only thing I miss is Jericho on commentary, him and Ski-Yvonne. Because as much as, I like the AEW commentating team a lot. I think they're the best in the business. But Jericho and Ski-Yvonne together is just so much fucking better. That is the best commentary team in all of wrestling. That's literally the best commentary team that I've seen since Heenan and Monsoon, really.
Say, if you don't say Heenan since Heenan, you're gonna lose me. Anything it had to do with Heenan was just amazing. Yeah, I understand it, but Jericho needs to be still, in the ring and doing in-ring things. We go back and we talk about Jake to kind of circle back there, and watching Jake in the mid '80s, and if you would have told me that 35 years later Jake would be on my TV screen as a manager, it would have been hard for me to imagine him aging. Because you just kind of think of these guys as being like, ageless wonders. But I would be like, yeah, he could do that. But then if you would have told me 10 years ago and he was having all the drug issues and, I guess it was, closer to 20 years now when he had got arrested for letting one of the Damians die, right? There's no way this guy's washed up and he's done. But he's cleaned up. DDP Yoga, you're a DDP Yoga guy now. Has really done worlds of... 2 days into it, it's really done worlds of good for this guy, because see, you're keeping yourself in shape. You should hang out with Joey Janela and get his ass in shape, man. But yeah. So I don't know. It's really awesome to watch Jake on TV. It really is. Him pulling the snake out was great. It needed to come from a bag as opposed to somebody handing it to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. It definitely needs a bag, that old, just vintage. Jericho against Pineapple Pete next week. I'm so excited for that. It shouldn't even be that exciting for me, but I'm fucking stoked to see Jericho against Pineapple Pete in a grudge match.
I mean,
I can't wait to see. He hates Pineapple Pete, and I can't wait to see Pineapple Pete get put in check.
I mean, I hear you. And I got you. At the same point in time, I get Pineapple Pete next week. This week I had QT Marshall. I guess North Furnham's coming in a couple weeks. Give me some Eli Drake, James Storm, dude.
Agreed. Here's the thing too that I hate to say is I think Pineapple Pete's going to get the upset because of Matt Hardy's interference.
It probably does, but did you catch the part where Jim Ross? No, it was Excalibur, who normally says smart things, said you don't want to get in a bar fight with Joey Janela.
I did, and you brought up a good point.
And it's like, did anybody watch? Did anybody watch his fight with Enzo at all, where he tried that shot and it looked like a freaking bitch slap?
Unfortunately,
like
you can't beat Enzo's ass here.
I'd rather be in a bar fight with Joey Janela than freaking Marco Stunt at this point, or even Riho, because I suspect one of the two of them could probably actually throw a punch.
Right, at least know how.
Oh my god.
You know Marco's probably been in some fights in his day. That dude probably got picked on so much.
Oh shit yeah. Oh shit yeah. But you know, back in the day, Joey Janela would have been fired for that fight. Bill Watts. I don't know how much you followed Bill Watts and his story, but he'd tell the guys, you need to get into a fight in a bar, get into a fight in a bar, do whatever you got to do. But you're my professional wrestlers, you're legit tough guys. If you lose, you're fired. That's what he told them. And if they lost a bar fight, they'd be fired and not brought back.
I miss those old days, man. I really fucking do.
Kayfabe.
That's what I miss.
You were yourself. You were not played by Julian or Jordan Disgrace.
Right.
You were who you were.
Exactly. Not Ethan Page played by Julian. Good point. I will say two things before we go. Is one, I'm going to make a prediction for the pay-per-view. It's Jericho against Hardy and that extreme deletion or elite deletion thing he's been talking about. So we'll get another cinematic thing there, which I'm not big on. But look, I can't say that they're ripping off WWE for doing it because look, let's be real. Lucha Underground started, but Matt Hardy and Impact are the ones that really took it up another notch and got it really, really big. So, I mean, I don't see that as AEW ripping off what happened at WrestleMania and the, big thing on that. But, it's I'm not a fan of it, but that's where I see going into pay-per-view. Second, this ladder match of the pay-per-view for a number one contenders shot for the AEW title. That seems like it's a ripoff of Money in the Bank. On the same month Money in the Bank is happening, just AEW, do this, please. Do not make it where you can cash in, get the title shot, and everyone. Make it for a fucking pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like, this guy gets the next shot at it all in. Whatever the next pay-per-view is going to be. The person that wins it. Right now, I think Darby might be a dark horse, but I want to see who's in it. I think Omega's probably got to be the next one to get that title shot. So I'm saying Omega or Darby probably wins it, but I guess we'll see who's in it and how many wrestlers are going to be involved. Sort of thing. What's your thoughts on that ladder match?
I think it needs to be a heel, right?
I'd hope.
I mean, so yeah. I don't know. What I will tell you, going back to the cinematic style thing, is it's kind of neat. You've seen it in Lucha Underground. You've seen it in Impact. You've seen it in WWE. Now you're gonna get to see it in All Elite Wrestling. So it's kind of nice to see all of them kind of embracing this style, which is something that Impact can say, hey, we're kind of the ones that sort of catapult it. And I don't want to say start it because you're right, it was Lucha Underground, but it's kind of neat. It's kind of different, but we'll see how they pull it off and if it's any good. But it's always going to be a sideshow, something you do every once in a while. It's not going to be a full-time thing.
I guess my fear is that it's going to become way too overdone and way more common. And the thing too, though, look, man, when I watch wrestling, it's because I can't get that anywhere else. If I wanted to watch a B-rated action movie, I'd watch a fucking B-rated action movie, and it'd probably be better than these cinematic movies that pro wrestling puts on. And why would I want to watch that when I could just watch any action movie? Period. You know what I mean? Like a good one. And that's my issue with it. I don't want to watch a fucking B-rated action movie with shittier acting and shittier action. I want to watch pro wrestling. And that's my thing with it, but we'll see where it goes. It's just, that's got to be what happens at the pay-per-views. It's got to be that match, and that'll go on right before Brody Lee and Moxley, if not the main event. Well, shit, anything else to chime in?
Nah, man, I think we're about out of time. I think we rocked it tonight.
We did. We actually got a quick show out. But that is it for the Heelcast this week. So be sure to check us out on ImpactAsylum.net and Wrestling with Wrestling, and also check out People's Championship Wrestling on Twitter at PC Wrestling. This is the RVE with the brother _ Exalted One Dude Bitch. Representing Hurls, Griggs, Larkin, FK, Chef, everyone, Heelcast involvement. Even if you're not Heelcast involved anymore, Heelcast is out.